Over the next 3 weeks, I am bringing back a 3-part manifestation series that I originally shared last summer. We are once again moving towards what many consider to be the most potent manifestation portal of the year, the Lionsgate Portal on the 8th of August. And this felt like the perfect time to revisit these teachings. Manifestation is never about one single practice. It is a series of energetic shifts, perspectives, and practices that build upon one another, helping us to become more aligned with what we desire and more available to receive it. And the work does not begin on the 8th of August. We do not want to wait until the portal itself to suddenly start setting intentions and trying to call things in. This is the time to begin preparing, priming your energy and becoming as aligned as possible before we reach that peak. This was one of the most popular miniseries I shared last year. And having revisited it myself, I was reminded just how much depth there is within these 3 episodes. They offer such a powerful reminder of where to focus our attention during this abundant period, while taking you through the manifestation process in far greater detail than I could ever cover in just one episode. So whether you are a newer listener, discovering the series for the first time, or you joined me for it last summer, I invite you to listen again as the person you are today. Different teachings may stand out, different parts may land more deeply, and you may recognize something that you were not ready to see before. These 3 episodes will also lead us towards my in-person Lionsgate Portal Manifestation Ceremony, a deeply sacred and immersive 3-hour experience where I will guide you through a profound journey of energetic alignment, manifestation, and transformation. I'll be sharing more details about the ceremony at the end of today's episode, including how you can book your place, so stay with me right through to the end. For now, settle in, open yourself to what you most need to hear, and let us begin. Welcome to Higher Self Mastery, the podcast for women ready to leave behind who they were told to be and remember who they truly are. I'm your host, Dami Schumacher. This is your space to come home to yourself, to honor the inner pull for more truth and more depth, and more meaning as you enter a new chapter of your life. Together, we're reframing midlife crisis into the midlife magic that it actually is, because this is your rebirth. Through soulful conversations and spiritual tools, you'll reconnect to your truth and reclaim your voice and live the life that your soul came here for. So let's begin. Welcome back. So this is part 3 of our mini manifestation series. And today we're going to be talking about all the things that could be blocking you from receiving the manifestations that you desire. Now, this is a complex one, right? I mean, I know they all are, but this one's particularly juicy, and I think one that you should all listen in to, whether you've listened to the other 2 or not. If you haven't listened to the other 2, please do go back. They do work very well together as a complete series. And the reason, as a quick reminder, we're doing this at this moment in time, if you're not already aware, is because we are right in the middle of the most powerful, potent cosmic alignment, which enhances and supports your manifestations, called the Lionsgate Portal. And basically this means that the veil between us in our 3D realm and the higher realm is a little bit thinner at the moment. Of course, you can manifest any time of the year, and you don't need special astrological alignments. But let's be honest, when you have that awareness, and if you choose to work with it because it's of interest to you, it can support you if you work with the energies at the right time. So that's all it is, right? It's there to support you. But you can apply these principles any time of the year and they still can work for you, okay? I'm going to share with you as many of the different things that could possibly be preventing your manifestations from coming in, but by no means is this an exhausted list. So let's dive straight into it. Last week, I did touch on the point where we talked about being really clear about your visions and talked about some other practical tools to help you become the right alignment energetically to call in your manifestations. We talked a little bit about making sure that the manifestation that you're trying to call in is not coming from your ego. Now, I said it then, I'll say it now. Just because if it is coming from your ego does not mean that you won't be able to call it in. But most likely, it probably won't make you happy, or you may not be able to hold on to it. Certainly the first, right? It won't give you the fulfillment and the feeling that you're hoping that it will give you. Now, in addition to that, if that particular manifestation is coming from your ego, it can also be a reason or a cause for it to not come in at all. If your higher self is saying, actually, it really isn't good for you to have that, it's not just a neutral manifestation that will be no different or keep you in the same place, but actually maybe it will be more detrimental or it'll harm you, or come on, we've been there before. When are you going to learn this lesson? When are you going to actually make those changes? You're ready for that next growth. Whatever those reasons are, if your higher self decides it's not for your highest good, it may not come to you if it's from your ego. So that's the first thing, right? There's also most likely a hell of a lot of different stories from your childhood, but also from the course of your life that you've picked up along the way that could be in conflict with what you are trying to call in. Now, I just want to remind you here, what we want comes from the front part of our brain, the thinking part of our brain. And this is the conscious brain. This is where we say, I would like to do this, or I like that, or I don't like that. And this is where opinions come from. This is where motivation comes from, right? But where our behaviors and where our habits come from, so basically all the things that are behind the action taking and all the things that are behind your energetic frequency come from your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind, unless you are meditating, unless you are engaged in particular practices to help you tap into your subconscious mind, or that beautiful sweet spot between the states of being asleep and waking, in that dreamlike state, those are the areas or the places where you can tap into your subconscious mind, right? And there are other ways as well. Unless you are working in one of those altered states of minds, or specifically in one of those practices, you will be operating from your thinking brain, which is not your subconscious. So you're not aware of what is actually driving your actions, what is actually driving the engine behind everything that you do. So a lot of these stories that you are currently operating from will be so outdated that they absolutely will be conflicting with what you want in your life right now. So I'm going to share with you lots of different stories from my own personal experience, my own upbringing, purely because I feel like they will help you to better understand how some of these limitations may be showing up for you in your life, okay? There is absolutely no finger pointing, no blaming. It just is what it is, and that's absolutely fine. But once you have an understanding of some of the things that could be blocking you, and this is where the really deep work begins, then it helps you to understand how you can move forward to overcome and reprogram these beliefs. So one of the things that I grew up with, or the environment that I grew up in, is that my parents were first generation immigrants here in the UK, and they were both laborers. So they both worked in factories their entire lives. And growing up, we struggled. When you're really little, you don't really know any different. You just accept what your parents tell you. But as you start to get older and you start to compare yourself to other children in your school, I began to notice and realize that actually we have a lot less than what a lot of the other children do. We didn't live in a wealthy area by no means, but still, we were at that lower end of working class. And
it was a constant struggle. Money was a constant struggle, and we lived very simply. Our house very simple. We didn't have a lot of things. Yeah, and when we were privileged enough to maybe go on a trip or a school trip or something like that, I was very, very aware of the extra work, the extra hours, the overtime that my mum would have to put in at work to then be able to cover the cost of this extra activity. And so with that, we constantly heard, we can't afford that. And as children, you go shopping every Saturday. We had to accompany my parents when we went shopping. Back then, there was none of these big supermarkets as well. I'm not that old, but still, And we would go into the city centre where the Leicester was renowned back then for its fruit and veg market. So we would go every Saturday into the city and go to the market. That's where you would get your fruit and veg for the whole week. But of course, then you're in town, so you window shop, but for me, my experience of going into the city centre and going shopping was you bought the bare essentials and you window shopped. Nothing ever was really a luxury item. Rarely, very rarely. You either bought it because you needed it, like whether it was school uniforms or equipment or things around the house or food, or you didn't buy it. You looked at it, you could admire it, and then you left it alone. And so constantly we were told as children, you might imagine you'd be like, oh, mum, can I have this? Or, oh, can I have that? Oh, you're pulled in so many different directions with all these shiny things and you want them. And all we ever heard was, not this week. We can't afford it. Not right now. We can't afford that right now. I don't have the money. We don't have the money. And we just accepted that. But can you imagine hearing that multiple times a week for, I don't know, 13 years, 12 years of your life? That's pretty ingrained in my programming, right? In my belief systems, even though my life is quite different today. So when I am working on my money success and my money manifestations, and believe me, we all have, unless you were born and raised into a wealthy family, and even then you still have some different stories, but for the most part, most of us have stories around money that really, really are non-serving. And there are many different stories about money, and I won't go more into the money side of things because that in itself is a whole episode or 2 episodes, right? Which is really interesting as well. So despite the many different careers I've had, the many different opportunities that I've had, money has always been a struggle for me. And somehow, one way or another, I find that I run out or there isn't enough and I'm having to say no to things. Now, this narrative is absolutely changing for me and has changed enormously over the last few years since I began this work with these universal principles. But prior to that, when I didn't know what was happening, I was completely unaware of the programming that I had and completely without tools to help me navigate it in the right way. I just kept on repeating that. So it can be rewritten, but for someone like me, it's just going to take a little bit longer. There's a lot more work to do behind it. So that's my first example. If money or greater wealth or greater financial success, anything like that is one of your manifestations, and I'm pretty sure many, many of you tuning in, that will be one of your manifestations, whatever that might be. To somebody, it might be to have an extra £500 a month. To someone else, it might be to have an extra £3,000 a month or an extra £10,000 a month. It doesn't matter where you are, but as we each have our ceiling, right? And it's about understanding that if you can't get past that ceiling, there's most likely a money story that is blocking your ability to receive more, even if everything that you're doing around you in your work, in your career, in your business should really reflect greater abundance in that area. So that's the first thing. Another example, having your dreams squashed when you were younger at some point. Maybe you were ridiculed. Maybe you were told that it would amount to nothing. Maybe you were laughed at and told, who are you to do that? You're reaching way above your station. So those kind of narratives where you are led to believe that your dreams and the things that you wanted to manifest in your vocational life, in your career, were not meant for you or out of your reach. And what often happens in this scenario, which is really sad, and my heart really goes out to individuals who are in this position, but often what ends up happening is that they don't even pursue those dreams. They put their dreams completely out of their mind or put it on the back burner and end up going into other things. And they compromise and they sacrifice what they really want to do vocationally. On the other hand, you may still pursue those things, like me, because my parents would say I was stubborn. I'd like to say I'm headstrong and I know what I like and I know what I want, right? I did continue to pursue what I wanted to. I did compromise a little bit because some of what they said instilled doubt in me. And at the end of the day, when you're a child and they are your parents, and even if you don't agree with what they're saying or you like what they're saying, they are still saying it because they have your interest at heart. They mean well. And they're living from their narratives, which are holding you back, right? So even though I didn't like what I was told about my career choices and my passions and the things that I wanted to do when I was younger, so I was always really artistic. You would always find me making something, crafting something, or drawing or painting. And if I was left to my own devices and supported, I probably would have gone off to do a fine art degree, something like that. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I guess we'll never know because I didn't go down that path. I did push through against my parents' advice and I did pursue the arts to some degree, but I did also compromise as well. So I went for something in the middle, which was design and architecture. And I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I've thoroughly enjoyed my studies at university. But I could have ended up on a completely different trajectory in my career had I not been discouraged. I was told that quite literally, and I really mean no disrespect to my father, because he didn't know any different. But I get my painting and my drawing artistic talents from my father, and I grew up watching him paint. And I would get so excited when he opened up his art box and got all the paints out. Like I would drop everything and go and sit by his side and then just nag him until he gave in. Please, can I do something? Can I do a bit? Can I try these paints? And they used to come in these teeny tiny little paint bottles that he would save up to buy and use sparingly. And as me as a child, like just slapping it all on, right? And he's just like, oh my gosh, like get off my stuff. So I got that love for art and drawing and painting from him, but it was also him that discouraged me from pursuing it. Because the more I drew, as I started to get a little bit older, he would make a point of saying, you'll never amount to anything if you carry on with that. Spend more time focused on your studies, on your maths, on your English, on your science. And this is somebody who was pretty much, even at that age, the equivalent of an A grade student. It's just like, well, what else do you want me to do? Like, you just want me to exceed and go even further. Like, why can't I spend my time drawing? Because that's what brings me joy. but you'll never amount to anything. You'll end up like one of those street painters that we see in town. You won't be successful. You'll end up penniless. That's what I was told. And I heard that again and again and again. So even though as an adult, I defied them, and I still went and I still did design, and I still went to university, and I followed all these things that I wanted to do, there has been a major, major, major block that I have been working through, and I'm still working through, because again, it's so ingrained in me. So even though I have these beautiful dreams for myself in my vocation, and my thinking brain is saying, you've got the skills, you've got the gifts, everything's in place, you've got the strategies, you've got da 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 tick, 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 tick. So then why is it not manifesting in the way that you desire? Because there's still all this belief systems from my childhood that are preventing it from really truly flowing in. And the only way to unblock that is to start doing the deep shadow work. There are other ways, like you can do some hypnotherapy, but essentially what you're doing is reprogramming your beliefs. There are many different ways to do it. And depending on how old and deep and ingrained that belief is and how much it's holding you back, different tools would be effective, right? So there's no one way to do this. So that's another example where I have had to really, really work through the real deep subconscious blocks within myself that are preventing me from achieving the vocational success that I desire for myself. Also, if you're listening to this podcast, there's a high possibility that you are spiritual, irrespective of whether you have a religion or not. Maybe some of you are new to this path, but many of you will have started your spiritual journey as children. And there's this age-old conflict. And I don't want to go off on a tangent, because I'll probably, it's a tangent. I'm going to try my best to stick to the point here. But secondly, I'll probably start getting a little bit angry, and I don't want to do that right now. But for the most part, religion is what most people will have grown up with, one form of religion or another. And I'm not having a crack at any religions, and I'm not going to single out any particular religions, but many religions operate by controlling people, by keeping them small. Because if you give the power to the individuals, they don't need the institution of the religion. They don't need the priests. They don't need the people at the top, the hierarchy to exist. Because the truth is, we all have access to source. We all have communication to source, to God. But if everybody knew this, and if this is what they advocated, well, then where would their need be for the hierarchy, for the people who are really a little bit misguided in their own journey and have taken religion and the cloak of religion to feed some of their egos? But for a long time, the reason I'm talking about this, for a long time, religions have intentionally kept people poor by putting a divide between being pious and being wealthy, by teaching the congregation that if you are wealthy, then you cannot be pious. And if you are wealthy, then you need to give it to your religion. Serve your God. Don't keep it for yourself, because that's selfish. That's greedy. And you'll go to hell for that. You can't be rich unless you're accumulating that wealth to then give back into your religion. But it's so incredibly humble and pious to just live within your means. Don't ask for more. Don't want for more. We all know this narrative, either personally or we've heard of these, but we're all aware of these narratives. And it grates me to no end, because actually wealth, and when I say wealth, I mean wealth in all its different forms. I don't just mean money. Wealth of land, wealth of relationships, wealth of abundance. So there's been this age old conflict between being spiritual and being on the path of knowing yourself and being in service and wanting and living a rich and wealthy life. I still hear it all the time. If you're truly in service to others, then how dare you charge money for it? We've all heard that, haven't we? Maybe you've been there yourself. I know I had been there myself. Because when I started this work, it was so hard for me to ask for other people to invest in what I was giving them. I've since then learned that this is just programming and not true, and in fact, actually completely against universal principles and what Source wants for us. Source wants us to be abundant. There's no shortage in supply. The universe has no limitations, it's limitless. Service does not mean you give everything away for free. That's a lie that we've been fed. So again, that could be something that's blocking your manifestations. For those of you who are in service, who have vocations where you help other people, and I'm sure that will include many of you listening, because that's naturally, I know my target audience, I know who tunes in, and for the large part, that will be the crowd that are listening into this podcast at the moment, people who are interested in being of service to others. But then often there's this conflict in being able to ask other people to invest in what you're sharing and giving them without feeling guilty. So that could be something that's blocking your manifestations. If you are struggling to manifest things in your service-based vocation. There is, of course, the fear. There are many different types of fears. And one of the fears is that you may stand out. If you're wealthy, people will notice you, especially if you then move above your station. So if you've grown up, or the majority of the people are in your environment at the moment are all pretty much equal in their success, in their wealth, in how they live, their lifestyle, and then you suddenly become more abundant in your vocation, more abundant in your wealth, more abundant in your status, whatever that greater manifestation is. There could be a fear that you will stand out too much and be judged like celebrities are. It's really sad, but that's what people do, because as humans, we are judging machines. You know, we can't help but judge. And people love to judge negatively because they're envious and they see mirrors that trigger them. They see things that other people have that they were secretly wish and desire that they had. But because they don't, then they often want to bring those people down. It must be incredibly hard to be a public figure. I don't envy those people at all. But having greater abundance could put you in your own spotlight, whether it is like a celebrity and you're globally famous, or whether that's within your community. People will know about you. People will be talking about you, talking about how you achieved your wealth and abundance and success. They all got an opinion. Everyone's always got an opinion. Whether you're wealthy and abundant, they've still got an opinion on you. Just know that. And you will never, ever stop people from having an opinion on you. The only thing you can do is stop caring about what other people think and stop living your life in a small way because you're afraid of what other people might say or do. But then there is also the fear that you outgrow your family, you outgrow your friends. You might feel like you won't fit in with them anymore, that they won't be able to relate to you, that they might be envious of you and then push you out. That's a very, very real fear. And that can often stop people from pushing through a ceiling of abundance, no matter how much from their thinking brain they want to manifest more. But on a subconscious level, the fear of losing their friends and their family is far deeper, far greater. So that could be a block. And that particular block, the fear of not fitting in and losing your friends and family, unfortunately for the first part, is that fear actually could probably be true. But it's also part of growth. When we change as individuals, it's normal for your social group to change. And if people are supposed to continue with you on your journey, then they will continue with you. And if they don't, then you have to be willing to let them drop away, no matter how much you love them. And yes, it can be really painful, but it's part of the journey. If you try to cling on, it just won't be what you want it to be, because there'll be some kind of compromise, sacrifice happening, either within yourself or within that relationship. Then there's all those things about, and we've sort of already begun to cover these, but let's label some of these. There's feeling unworthy. There's the feeling of not deserving what you want to call in. There's the fear of success. In case you lose it, it could be that it's conflicting with your identity. And then there's also control. And I'll break some of these down for you, but they do overlap as well. Now, the deservingness, I can really speak to that. So I have a vision of what I want to achieve in my vocational success, in my financial success. But again, until I started doing the shadow work, until recently, actually, until very, very recently, I didn't realize that deep down inside, there's a part of me that does not feel deserving to achieve the financial abundance that I am trying to call in. And from how I understand it at the moment, this comes down to the fact that, and this is going to sound, this is ironic, but this is why I want to share this story with you, because I want you to see how complex it can be and how intertwined it can be, and also how contradictory it can be. I, deep down on a subconscious level, I'm hoping that this is not so true for me anymore, because I've been doing an enormous amount of work on myself over the last couple of years, specifically around this. But for a long time, I didn't feel like I deserved to be wealthier, to earn the amount of money that I wanted to manifest through doing a job that, one, I don't even call a job, because I see it as my purpose, my vocation, my calling. but something that I love. Now, my parents want nothing but security, success, and happiness for me. I know that. They love me very much, and I'm very, very blessed and grateful to have the parents that I do. And that's what they want. And they support me in the best way that they possibly can. But it's actually watching them and what I saw them do as I grew up that is some of the core reasons that's holding me back from actually having the success that not only do I want for myself, but the success that they want for me too. Because as I mentioned earlier, both my parents were laborers. They both worked in factories. They used to work for minimum wage. They worked long, hard hours doing physical manual labor. They did not enjoy what they did. It wasn't a choice of enjoyment. It was just a secure job. That is it. A very different time. I get it. But they were just grateful that they had a secure job. And with both my parents, but especially my mother, I watched how that deteriorated her health, her physical health, the job that she did. And they worked really, really hard their entire lives. They've worked physically hard, long hours and hard physical labor. And then there's me sitting there saying, I want to earn X amount of money through doing this vocation that I just love and adore and actually doesn't feel like work at all because I could sit here and do this all day, every day because it's just an absolute joy, which it is. And at the same time, it's not hard work. There's no physical labor. There's no sacrifice. How dare I? Who am I? I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. Who am I to ask for this easy life that is enjoyable when my parents work so freaking hard? I don't deserve this. Deep, I know. But I hope by sharing that, that's made some of you go, holy moly. Yes, I can see that in my own narrative. I can see how some of that might be playing out in me or a similar narrative. But isn't it ironic that I want success for me? They want success for me. Yet it's because of them I don't feel deserving enough. Right? Then there's also the worthiness aspect of it. I've mentioned before in previous episodes, like being first generation British born Indian Gujarati here in the UK and grown up with all those stories about you'll never be an equal. They'll always see the color of your skin. You'll never get the jobs that you want. So all those sort of cultural biases that were true for my parents when they first arrived here, but so much has changed. But those narratives are still stuck in my subconscious mind. So maybe on some level, none of this has come up for me in my shadow work, but let's just continue with this example. Maybe on some level, there's some of that playing out for me because I'm a woman. I was never encouraged in my culture and in my family to dream so boldly, right? And to go out and pursue absolutely anything that my heart desired. No, I was told to play safe. There is also this identity conflict. So even in my extended family, and there are many of my cousins who are successful in what they do in their careers. Far as I know, I'm the first in all of my family to step out and do something as risky and bold as running my own business, pursuing something that I absolutely love. So not starting a business because it's a good business idea and I think it will generate good money, but actually really just following my calling without any kind of guarantee of there's no business strategy behind how I began my journey because it never came from my head. It came from here. It came from source. It was a calling, as cheesy as that might sound. It really was a calling. And once I had that calling of what I was supposed to do, I'm actually physically unable to do anything else now with myself, no matter how challenging it gets. So I've got that drive and that power pushing me, which I am so grateful for. But at the same time, it conflicts with my identity, the identity that I've always grown up with. And the identity is to go into those safe, secure jobs, be an employee. And even in our schooling system hasn't changed very much since the Victorian era, which is disturbing, to be quite frank. But they do not encourage, unless you're in a private school or a different type of school, for the most part, the public education here in the UK, at least, are teaching children, educating children to become good employees. Learn to listen, do as you are told, learn how to tick the boxes, all of that nice, safe, blah, 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 BS. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being an employee. I'm not. It's the right fit for many people. But our children are being conditioned, all of them are being conditioned to do that. I certainly grew up with that, not just from the education system, but also from my culture, from my parents, to be an employee. We weren't a family. I didn't grow up in a family of entrepreneurs. But this choice isn't being given to our children either. Certainly wasn't given to me. So for me to be an entrepreneur is scary as hell. So out of my comfort zone. And I can bet you, I would say confidently, the only reason I've ended up following this path of being an entrepreneur is because of my husband. And he's a great example to share because actually his upbringing, as far as this area of stories and beliefs go, could not be more different to mine. So he grew up in a household where his older brother and his dad used to race. So his dad built the go-karts and his brother raced them, and they would win trophies after trophies. Like they were the best of the best at what they did during the few years that they did that. They would win all the competitions, and yeah, they were successful at what they did. And that was pure passion. It was pure joy. It wasn't even a job. You know, his father had a separate job, and that wasn't a job necessarily for his brother. That was something that he enjoyed doing, and they made it successful. His mother also, especially for that generation, was very unusually. He's got a mixed background. So in their own different way, once his parents got married, they moved to Australia. They went over as the £1 Poms from England. But there was an enormous amount of racism in Australia at the time then when they went, I think would have been in the 70s, I think. And again, not too dissimilar to my parents' situation. Immigrants would have been expected to do step straight into a laborer's position, but she didn't. She was a ballet teacher, and she'd always done ballet, and she taught ballet, and she pursued her dreams. That's what she loved and adored. So my husband, being the youngest in that family, grew up with a very, very different stories around career and what's safe to pursue. And for him, ambition was always, always high on the agenda. For him, pursuing what makes you come alive, your dreams, is not something that he's ever questioned. He just does it automatically because that is part of his story. That is part of his belief system. He doesn't have to work hard at it. There's no conflict there, nothing holding him back. Whereas for me, I've got all this other stuff that I need to work through before I can even start to make headway. That's not to say that he doesn't have other things going on for him, but specifically here in terms of identity, he's always carried, I'd say confidently, always carried the identity of entrepreneur, and to be successful in your passions and your pursuits in life, to go after absolutely anything you desire. That's part of his identity. If you want something, just go after it and you can get it. That's it. Really simple. But that was not the story that I grew up with. And there's a huge contrast. So I totally owe him that. I would not be sitting here running my own business if it weren't for him. That's something I've learned to do from watching him. And also because it's a desire within me. Then there's the concept of needing to control things, expecting your manifestations to come through in a very particular way and being closed to all the other ways that it could possibly be sent to you via the universe. So maybe you are after your second car, third car, whatever it is, and you've got in your mind a yellow convertible. Let's say an Audi TT. It's my favorite car, one of my favorite cars. But it has to be yellow. And it has to have cream leather seats. Right? But this is a silly example, but instead of those exact specifics and specifications, you get a blue Audi TT and it's got black leather seats, which actually you still really love and would be just as happy with. But for some reason, you're fixated that it needs to be yellow and it has to have particular color, it has to have cream leather seats, that you just end up pushing it away, even though this blue one with the black leather seats has arrived in your peripheral, has become available to you at an amazing price, or has been given to you, but you're so fixed on exactly how it needs to show up that you just say, thank you, but no thank you. Sorry, it's not yellow. I cannot and will not accept it. Now, I know that's a silly example. Most people would probably just take the Audi, right? And not question it, irrespective of what color it is. But that's what the point here I'm trying to make is that we can be really, really closed in our hands about exactly how things come to us. Often, when we're talking about manifesting things, most of us want to manifest money or more money so that we can buy this, so that we can have this holiday, so that we can go on this trip or book ourselves onto a retreat or whatever it might be. Because money is the currency that then allows us to go off and have these different experiences, or to have certain experiences with tangible 3D items too. But sometimes the universe just wants to send the actual thing to you. And sometimes people can be so closed that they will push it away. So I'll give you another example. If you are trying to you are trying to manifest a bonus at your workplace, and you have a very specific bonus in mind. You want to manifest a Christmas bonus of £1,000. Because then with that £1,000, you're going to treat yourself to a lovely winter holiday with your partner, to a magical winter wonderland somewhere in a snowy part of Europe. So very specific why you want that money. But that bonus doesn't come through. Instead, your best mate calls you up and says, I've booked these tickets for the skiing holiday. It's in January. I can't make it. Something's come up. I'm unwell or whatever it is. I can't make it. The tickets are non-refundable. Would you like it for just 50% of what I paid, just for half the price that I paid? Would you like to go in my place? For those of us who are so controlling in how things come to us, may end up saying no, actually, thanks, but no thanks. Now, I know this sounds silly, but there will be people out there, and it may not be such extreme examples like this where it feels like it's a no-brainer. Could be more subtle, because it might be testing and robbing your ego, saying, well, I didn't earn that money. I don't want to accept somebody's charity or sympathy, especially if that friend was giving it to you for free. That might really trigger some people. Oh, no. No matter how much you want to go on that holiday, and it's perfect, and that bonus from work didn't come through, but you don't want to feel like you're being given charity, because that hurts your ego. You have something to prove that you paid for that holiday, because that's how you envisioned it. That's where sometimes we can block our manifestations as well, because we were so fixated and trying to control how it comes in, that when the gift arrives, we end up just pushing it away and refusing it. Now, I talked about a lot. I did say there was a lot of different examples. I know, and I kid you not, but we're just really scratching the surface with them. But I did try to give you a broad overview of all the different ways that this could be happening. The good news is you can do something about it. Reprogramming your stories, your beliefs, also known as your paradigms. That's what paradigms are. If you've ever heard that word being thrown around, and sometimes I'll use it as well. Just know all it means is limiting beliefs and stories. All of these things are used interchangeably. You can absolutely reprogram them, because the neural pathways in your brain can be rebuilt. So you can undo them and you can write new ones. But yes, it does take work and time and effort. But the first thing that is absolutely paramount to unblocking these things that might be preventing you from receiving your manifestations is to first have the awareness. And that's what you're doing by tuning into this podcast. Just by listening to what I am sharing with you today, no matter how much of it lands with you, no matter how much of it you take away, as long as you take something away, that should be opening up your awareness. And that's the very, very, very first step to any of this work. To be honest, awareness is absolutely key. And then you want to be able to deepen your practice of awareness, to always keep looking. Ask your higher self. If you pray, if you meditate, if you don't, maybe just, try to bring in a practice every morning, maybe when you're brushing your teeth, or every night, or both, ideally. Just show me what I need to see that I can't see, that is for my highest good. And by that, what you're saying is, help me to be more aware. Help me to be more aware. Because then when we have that awareness, it's only then we can go off and do the work. Only then are you likely to say, oh, okay, maybe I need to go and get some hypnotherapy. Maybe I'd like to work with a coach. Maybe I'd like to do a self-paced program. Maybe I need to go off and do some shadow journaling. But you need to have the awareness first to realize that something's not quite right here. And that something is nearly always down to something within you. But again, that's the great news, right? Yes, it is work. And if you're tuning in, and I doubt any of you fall under this category, but let's just be absolutely clear here. If you're tuning in and you think that these transformations, these neuro pathways are going to be reprogrammed and this work comes easy and it will land in your lap, you are sorely mistaken. Transformation happens with effort and work, but that doesn't mean it has to be hard. It just means you have to be committed. And there's no saying how quickly it will happen or how long it might take as well. You can't hold on to these things, just like the control of how those manifestations come through. Transformation, you can't hold on to them with a tight fist. You have to do this with an open palm, open hands, and just trust. So awareness is one of the first things that you do. And some of these other things that I'm going to mention here are all things that I cover with my clients in my flagship program to help you to begin unblocking. One of the things is forgiveness. Forgiveness is massive, and people don't like to do this, even though it's so simple and so important. I think it's overlooked as not having such a profound effect on your transformation and profound effect in removing the blockages. But believe me, it really, really does. When we are holding anger, resentment towards a situation or a person, do you know how that looks energetically in you? As a block. You are blocking things from flowing through you. So forgiveness is a massive, massive practice that you can learn and do. And we do like a really deep dive in my program with my clients on forgiveness. Beautiful thing about it is that once you commit to doing it, it's actually such a simple practice, but it can be painful because we don't always want to forgive. Self-devotion is another one. And by that, I mean like really honoring yourself, who you really are, what your needs are, putting yourself first, taking care, making sure you're resting, all of those things around self-love and self-care. They're so important. Because again, it's all about trying to clear this channel between source and you. And only when it's a clear channel can manifestations flow through you. When we're out of alignment, when we're not looking after ourselves, when we're worn out, when we're burnt out, when we're compromising, not saying no when we need to, not saying yes too many times, all of those things can block us, right? Especially here, if we don't speak up for ourselves, all that can get so blocked, right? I mean, we've probably all felt it at some point, especially women, but men too. And then, of course, there's like any kind of somatic practice where you're physically moving, because sometimes that's what it takes. I'm all about mind mastery. That is what I coach and teach, and that is my area of expertise. But I am the first person to say it's nothing without somatic practices to support that as well. And I'm a big, my clients will tell you, I'm a big advocate for breath work and dancing and shaking things out, because sometimes things are so stagnant and so stuck, you can't think your way out of it. So you have to move it. And it just feels good too. And it's fun. And it stops you from being so serious. right? And it can help things to move and connect you with energy in you that you may not have even realized through your mind that was even in you. Rage, anger, sadness can sometimes spill out, but you want it to, because that means you're purging it, you're releasing it, making space, clearing that vessel, that channel. I mentioned hypnosis, but that's something you can do more and more readily by yourself. There's loads of stuff on YouTube. If you can work one-to-one with a hypnosis, oh, not with hypnosis. If you can work one-to-one with a hypnotherapist, amazing. Not my area of expertise yet, although I'm very interested in that. And a lot of the work I myself do is like um, hypnosis, meditations and things that I work with. So there are those as well, and they can help you to get faster results. So I'm told. Um, and there, of course, are affirmations, which everybody has access to, which work in the same way, but you have to work a little longer with them. It's not that they don't work, they do work, but you really, really have to stay consistent with them. And again, there's an art and a science behind how affirmations work as well. So there's a right and a wrong way to do it, or a way to do it properly so they are actually effective. So those are just some of the things. Whew, I feel almost exhausted now. I feel like that was a lot. I have no idea how long I've been speaking for. Probably this is the longest of the 3 parts mini series, but these are some of the ways that your manifestations may currently be blocked. And if you are or have been working with a manifestation for a while and you are recognizing yourself and say, oh my gosh, yes, some of this could be true for me, and you are looking for some support, please reach out. My email address is iam@damischumacher.com. I'll also drop it in the show notes. And please just get in touch. I'm here to support you and here to help you. And, you know, we can discuss different ways in how I can support you as well if you're looking for more long-term support one-to-one or through a group program. I have various things on offer. So just reach out and, you know, let's have a little chat. Okay. That's what I'm here for. And this is what I do. I get really excited about it. I think you could probably tell because that's why I've spoken for so long today. I find it really interesting and really juicy work. Yes. Like I said at the beginning, it's not an exhausted list. There is more still that could be at play here. But just know, just because a manifestation isn't coming through for you right now doesn't mean that it won't later. It could be a case of timing. Maybe it's not right for you now, but it will come through at a later date when different things have come into place in your environment, or after you've had a certain level of growth take place for you. Even though we might feel like I want it now, your higher self is saying, I know you do, but you haven't learned this lesson and that lesson yet. So when you have learned those things and when you've dissolved your ego around certain aspects, then I'm waiting to give it to you. But you need to do those things first. So it could be little things like that, right? It could be a redirection because actually it's not for your highest good. And something better is waiting for you as well. So all these different things could be at play here. Deep breath. I'm going to finish there. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so honored and so grateful for each and every one of you who are tuning in. I so hope that you've enjoyed this 3-part mini manifestation series. Please let me know. Leave a review. Have you implemented anything? Have you seen any success stories yourself already? Or are you still working with it here right now during the Lionsgate portal while we've got it open? Please let me know. You can email me or you can reach out to me on Instagram or LinkedIn or leave a review. As always, you know where the usual places are, but I'd love to hear your feedback. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informative. I hope you found it useful and helpful in helping you to push through your current manifestation ceiling, so you can all start calling in a little bit more of what you really love and desire and deserve. A quick update I've got for you. So if for those of you who tuned in last week, I said, let's do a live experiment. I was holding a live workshop on the 2nd of August, so last Saturday. And the Monday prior to that, I was informed that my venue had closed down quite suddenly. So when I recorded last week's episode, I was like, let's just see what happens with my manifestation. I'm going to manifest if a new venue comes up, and it will just be an experiment. So just a quick update. A venue did come through. I was able to secure it within the new location was only like 5 or 10 minutes drive from the original location. Same day, same time. So all of the participants who had agreed to come along and signed up for the workshop were all able to still attend, because very little had actually changed. So that was my live manifestation experiment that I said I would share with you. And so, yes, it was a success. I did manifest a new venue, and it was beautiful. It was such a gorgeous, divine workshop that actually I think I'm repeating it, an impromptu repeat for another group of gorgeous ladies who couldn't make that particular date. So there you have it. You can manifest anything you want as long as it's aligned. Okay. Love and light, gorgeous people. And I'll see you back here next week. Bye bye. Finally, on a last note, for those of you who really enjoyed the manifestation series and want something to refer to, I have a free PDF download. The link is in the show notes, so please just sign up for it there. I want you to have this information. It's my top tips so that you can continue working with these energies and expand everything that you desire and deserve. So don't delay. Sign up for that today, all right? And get that in your inbox. I'll see you soon.
Before you go, I want to share something with those of you who feel called to continue this work with me in person. Sometimes manifestation isn't about learning another technique. It's about uncovering what your soul has been trying to show you all along. I'm calling in just 13 divine women to join me for an intimate Lionsgate Portal manifestation ceremony. If you've been doing all the right things, reading the books, creating the vision boards, setting intentions, and repeating the affirmations, yet the manifestation that matters most still isn't landing, this may be the missing piece. This is not simply another workshop or class. It is a ceremonial space created for women who are ready to go deeper. Over 3 sacred hours, we'll journey together. You'll uncover what you truly desire at a soul level. We'll gently reveal what may be blocking your ability to receive it, and you'll leave with practical tools to activate the next chapter of your manifestation journey. Held within one of the most powerful manifestation windows of the year, this ceremony will help you to deepen your alignment, expand your capacity to receive, and quantum leap the results you've been creating so far. We'll complete our journey with a deeply restorative sound bath. This will allow everything you've uncovered to settle, integrate, and anchor within you. If your heart is whispering yes, you'll find all the details in today's show notes. I'd be honored to welcome you into the circle. Thank you for joining me on this episode of High Self Mastery. If something landed, moved you, or sparked a shift, I'd love to hear from you. Be sure to follow, subscribe, and share this episode with a woman in your life that is also ready to rise. And if you found value in today's conversation, please take a moment to rate and review this podcast, especially in these early days. It really helps others to find this work too. If you're craving deeper support and sisterhood, join my mailing list using the link below, where you'll be the first to receive free meditations, learn about up-and-coming retreats, and other ways that we can work together. Until next time, honor your truth and trust in the timing of your becoming.